Hey everybody, welcome back to what is our third iteration of Learning SEO, Beginner's SEO. I'm your host, John Salmon. You'll have to bear with my ridiculousness and my silly Cleveland accent, but it's something I'm very proud of. Anyways, onward and upward. When we're talking about the actual application of SEO, where do we start? I kind of always go back to this formula of that kind of stems from just overall general marketing, right? The things that you want to ask, the key questions are simply who is your target audience, where are they located geographically, and what essentially are your goals for your website. So a lot of this will essentially formulate the strategy for your SEO campaign. You're talking about goals, it's usually lead gen, phone calls, or just pure e-commerce sales. In terms of your target audience, getting a better understanding of who they are, kind of get deeper into this as you start to tackle the content of your website, but really getting an understanding of their pain points, what they're looking for, and ultimately what's your sales pitch, right? What's your consolidated sales pitch, and adding that to key pages of the website, whether that's the home page or the inner page is on the site. And then what is your targeted geographic area? If you're targeting the United States, that's great. There's one approach, and referenced this earlier, kind of just more that traditional SEO approach. If you're targeting a specific city, you're going to need to blend in some things on the local SEO side, which typically flow into Google My Business or the Google My Business profile, which we talked about previously in this introduction. And certainly in my evil plan, I will go through some of this stuff in later videos. If you have any questions, in the meantime, feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my contact information on the page and in the profile, that sort of thing. So where do we go from here once these questions are answered? Big fan of tracking things, right? Again, from referencing previous videos, you really want to get an understanding of where you're at right now so that as you get into things and make adjustments, you know what worked and maybe what may not be working. So the first thing, and most people do have Google Analytics set up on their website. When I talk to companies, they'll have it set up. Are they looking at it? It varies across the board. If they do look at it and they're not working with a third-party company, they'll glance at it. A lot of them get lost in the data. Google Analytics 3, which was the previous iteration, was kind of like overwhelming with information, and this one, Google Analytics 4, gives you even more data, and it's not as user friendly as the previous iteration. So that's something that I'll get into, but the data is still super solid in terms of being able to take a look at it, showing before and after situations, improvement, maybe where you want to shore up some things in terms of shortcomings. You want to get that set up, and it's pretty easy to set up. Google Analytics is absolutely free if you haven't set it up, and depending upon your content management system, it can be easy to set up, but something to look at. You have to apply some coding to the website if you're manually adding it. So again, something we can get into in later videos, but like I said, hit me up with any questions. Something else, another Google product, something called Google Search Console. And I'll show you guys some screenshots of these items here in a few seconds, just to kind of further get you introduced to them. But Google Search Console is another free tool from Google that they put out. It gives you a lot more data on what the search engines are seeing from the activity on your website. And it's become more valuable, I would say, in the last couple of years. If you haven't been in the mix, Google Analytics 3, which was in existence for over 10 years, Google switched to this new format, Google Analytics 4. Basically they've had it in place since July of 23, roughly. I mean, you could set it up beforehand, but that was kind of the deadline to move off of it. They also gave a deadline from essentially deleting all the information in Google Analytics 3. So if you had Google Analytics 3, your data is now gone. When you're looking at Google Search Console, it has data prior to that. So it's something you can look at and get some information on, especially if you're trying to troubleshoot some challenges with your website. Something we use, there's so many different places to track keywords. SE Ranking is the app I'd recommend, third-party website. There is a 14-day trial, which we'll talk about here in a few. But it's something I would definitely recommend to track the keywords, essentially like identifying where you're at right now, and then you can see changes as things progress. It offers real-time updates on where you're ranking for keywords. Shows a lot of really great data. It also does site audits. So highly recommend that. And then some of the core tracking tools that I talked about previously, I recommend HubSpot, and I recommend CallRail as well. So you can, a lot of these are two industry-leading tools. CallRail is to track phone calls, and then HubSpot to track lead source data, but also there's so many other things that you can use HubSpot for, especially on the sales side. Highly recommend it. Where I would start with that is, the base package runs about like $40 or $50, and that gives you about 1,000 contacts and allows you to put forms on your website. Really, really good starting point. So check that out. And then CallRail runs about $40 a month. The biggest thing with CallRail is that, and we have our own, interest in it in terms of like identifying lead source. I mean, it's a typical call tracking program. You can add numbers, you can listen to calls, you can thumbs up, thumbs down, calls that come through. But the biggest thing is that they automatically detect the lead source of the call that it comes through, and you can pull that into analytics. And you can use that to do a lot of different things in terms of like really getting an understanding of the quality of the stuff that's coming in, whether you're doing SEO or PPC. A lot of the times people just don't want to pay for CallRail, and they're really only keeping track of the forms that are coming through, and they're missing about half of like what's coming in from their marketing efforts. Do not underestimate the phone calls. The phone calls are just so important in terms of tracking and really getting a true understanding of what's coming back from your overall campaign. Let's get into tracking keywords, because that's really the first move in tracking keywords, and this is really flows into using SE ranking. So we're going to talk about a website called the Bobcat Store. It's just bobcatstore.org. I'm pretty sure I have it pulled up here. I don't, but let's go check it out. So this is the live version of SE ranking that I'll show you guys, but this is the Bobcat Store. It is the Ohio University alumni store, so if Ohio University comes up again, feel free to go throw up in your garbage can, because I talk about it all the time. I went to OU, love it, absolutely love it, in beautiful southeastern Ohio. So naturally, I'm on this store quite a bit, for better or for worse, right? Anyways, so where you really want to start is, I just went in here and added some keyword phrases related to the product. So they're selling typical merchandise. You can go on here and there's merchandise, clothing, accessories, home and office stuff, the typical like e-commerce store. And so I put in, in setting up this profile, and this was just literally a couple hours ago, I added these specific keyword phrases, and hopefully you can see those pretty well. I'll try to zoom in on them a little bit. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Ohio University apparel, Ohio University merchandise, Ohio University sweatshirts. So apparel and merchandise, starting broad with keyword phrases, and then getting into the specific product lines, right? Ohio University t-shirts, Ohio University hoodies. Now, a lot of the times if you search for Ohio University X, you'll see a lot of Ohio State University stuff. So people do searches for Ohio Bobcats. That's also a variant that I've added within here as well. So you can see here's the specific keyword phrases. Added the old shot glasses in there as well, right? It is college, right? Got to have some souvenirs. So search volume. Okay, so this is basically, I believe they pulled this from Google, but the search volume is how many times a search term is searched on average monthly nationally. So you can see Ohio University apparel is searched on average about 1,000 times per month nationally. They rank third overall for it. The traffic forecast is an estimate on how much traffic you'll get from ranking in the third position. It's not typically in there, at least from when we look at it, but it's an option to put in there, so it's kind of fun to see. And then this shows where they rank overall third. So if I click on it, in SE ranking, I can see that the homepage is the URL that's ranking. And as the days progress, I'll be able to see how things change, because every single day you can look at it and it shows you how you've changed keyword positions, and it's super, super, super helpful when you're trying to be aggressive and make adjustments to a client's website or your own website, and assessing the value. So check that out. This is a snapshot of an overview of Google Search Console. So when you log into Google Search Console, you'll see, in this particular instance, we're doing a comparison. So, in the last 3 months for this particular client site, we've gotten 301 clicks compared to the last 3 months in 2023, 230. So that is up, right, in terms of overall clicks. The impressions are up incredibly. So that's good. Again, it just gives you search engine impressions. So how many times, your site is seen in the search engines. Here's the click-through rate. So it's down compared to the previous year, but I'll take the increase in clicks and increase in impressions. And then the overall average position has increased compared to the last 3 months of last year, 2023. This is a client that we're working with very early on in the process, have made like 1 month's worth of adjustments to the site. The impressions, and certainly you can dig deeper into this data, and I'll show you in a second. The impressions are like kind of like the where the campaign is going from an overall perspective. So it's translated into clicks to some extent, but the impressions are like, if this keeps going, this is where it's going. So it's going really well so far in terms of the impressions. And we'll take, a decent improvement in clicks year over year. Here's a snapshot. I just kind of axed out the client name. The top two are kind of branded terms. It's a tooling die company. And those are the types of terms that they're going for. So the top two terms that I've crossed out are branded terms. So you'll see those as well, the company name. The last 3 months, the clicks have been up slightly, right? It shows you the clicks difference. It also shows you the impressions difference. So there's a lot of things that you can gather from that. But the non-branded terms are the ones that we're really trying to get some more traction on. And this is something I'm really happy with, is that as we've uploaded content and made adjustments to the site, you can see that for CNC machining, which is very typical service for a tool and die company, for those of you who are in the manufacturing industry. I am not, but we've worked with a lot of manufacturers to where I have a firm understanding of that, right? Knowledge you can take to a trivia night, right? The impressions are up dramatically to where they were on the previous year. Same thing. So you can kind of see the progress here in terms of breaking down the individual terms, again, which is something I'm very happy with. And the powers that be won't be happy with impressions. Certainly, clicks are a step in the right direction. They're going to be looking for more response. But in the early stages of a campaign, it's something to at least show that you're making progress on. And the Google Analytics and Search Console, if you don't have it set up, are really important tools. In actually getting in and doing the keyword research, I'm offering SE ranking. But there's other tools that you can use. You can use ChatGPT. You can use SEMrush. In ChatGPT, you can just say, hey, look, I'm in this industry. We're trying to target this audience. What keyword phrases would you recommend? And, use it as a tool to help assist you. But you want to use that as part of, your own initial research. We typically use Google Keyword Planner, but there's a million tools out there. And unfortunately, you have to have a campaign up and running on the Google Ads side of things to be able to get in there and use it. But the practice, and the options have evolved. What I would just focus on is just what are the users, who are the people I want to target, what keywords are they searching, and do these keywords have the right intent? So in this case, the tool and die company, anybody that's searching for a third party is always a good starting point to go after terms. So tool and die company, tool and die contractor, that's not typically what they're searching, but you get the idea. But if there's a third party associated with it, there's a good chance that they're looking for a partner to work with. So the intent, there's a higher probability of getting a lead from that, if that makes sense, just in that particular instance. Add some phrases to the plan. I just would be be very cautious about adding keywords that are just very, very general. And I'll get into doing the keyword research because this is a lot more involved. But specific is better. Certainly search volume is important, but intent is even more important, okay? And track the keywords. Let's see how you're doing, right? A lot of this stuff is plugging and playing with making tweaks to the website, especially if you're at a beginner level. Any progress is good progress, right? From an overall perspective, the two high-level factors in how your website will rank for terms, there's off-site factors and there's on-site factors. Content's really important. Site structure is very important. Adding keywords to content is important. It's, you don't have to have you don't have to, say the phrase that you're trying to rank for every other paragraph or like a million times on a page. You want to add it in, and certainly we can get into the application of it in shortly here. Just again, I'm trying to go through high level stuff. User experience is really important in SEO. How much time they spend on the website, their click activity, and certainly interaction, especially centered around what actions you want them to take. And it's important because Google can see this stuff through Google Analytics, right? For better or for worse. So they factor all of those things in there, some more important than others. And then off-site factors. Getting links from other websites. That's super important. Getting credible links. And it's not necessarily about volume, it's about quality. And we'll get into link building because there's so much to talk to you guys about. And then off-site factors like reviews, especially on Google My Business. And then there's also the Bing Local. I would definitely set up both of those. But, certainly if you're targeting local, you want to try to keep that profile as complete as possible and direct people there to provide you with reviews. And it's got to be legit reviews. Google's really cracking down this year on people who are trying to cheat the system with just flooding with reviews that may be incredibly fake or coming from people that maybe would not be the best resource for providing a review. So it could be like my cousin reviewing Six City Marketing on our Google My Business profile. Google's like, yeah, John might be a good guy, but that's not somebody that you served as a customer genuinely reviewing your business. Something to keep in mind. All right, so site structure is really important. You really want to take a look at your website. Again, low-hanging fruit from an SEO perspective, and try to make sure it's as chunked up as possible for people and Google to be able to find what they're looking for when they come to your website. A classic case of this is just, people having a page that says services and listing all of the services on one page. Let's just say there's 5 services listed on the page that you're just summarizing. Well, it would actually be better if you created individual pages for each of those services so that Google could find them, especially if you're serving a specific area, because you could write a page about, X service in, let's just say Cleveland. So Cleveland X service, Cleveland Y service, so on and so forth. Chunking up the content, keep that in mind. Adding content to the homepage. Even if you got to put it a little bit further down the page, just giving some substance to the homepage is just so important. So I'd start there with the overall content structure. Content optimization. You want to write, I know this is a little bit crazy because your eyes are going to spin and you're going to go, all right, let's go ChatGPT, right? Write 500 to 1,000 words of content for each page that you would want to rank well for. We're really not recommending not using AI-generated content. It can be so tempting to just have ChatGPT or any other program crank out some content, or try to use a combination of tools to revise the AI content so that it looks more natural. You're going to ultimately need to sell your business to your customers. And you are the expert, or you have a team of experts, and you really want to utilize those experts to try and generate content that resonates with the audience and demonstrates your expertise. And it's part of the reason why I'm helping here is that we're trying to demonstrate our knowledge, certainly to help you guys, but also, hey Google, we know what we're talking about, right? So, internal motivations, right? Use keywords in H1. So H1 refers to the title on the page. So create your unique page titles and headers on the page, because Google will look at that to see if there are keywords in the title, and the main title on the page, and just make it natural. Try to squeeze it in, but don't make it sound like super spammy. Try to make it natural, because good quality content is what Google's looking for. If you can squeeze in keywords that make sense, and again, I can get more in depth on this, it's going to help you, okay? Use a variety of subheaders in the content. Try to break up your content. People scan the content on the page. A lot of short paragraphs, a lot of bullet points. Use keywords in the subheaders. Use subheaders. And start by optimizing existing pages. Homepage, product or service pages are the best ones to start with. If you don't have a section that talks about, if it's relevant, industries that you serve, start writing that content and start keeping the pages for each industry separate. So maybe there's a main industries page, itemize out each of those industries, and you never know who's going to come there. And this is an example of just itemizing things out under an industries page. This is a client that we work for, Westlake Tool and Die. One of the recommendations that we had was to just write content for the plumbing industry. They also offer metal stamping and a variety of other things on the manufacturing side of things. So this is helpful in drawing in the right audience into your site, or as your target audience finds you, they can also scan and hover over industries, assuming you have a list of industries that you serve, and it's it helps with the credibility aspect of things. Content optimization and structure, keep these things in mind. Is if you're targeting a specific geographic area, and this kind of shows an example of a page that we have up on our site, or as part of our site arsenal, if you will. There's a 614 number. This page targets Columbus. We have a 614 number. We have a Columbus address. Columbus, Ohio SEO services. We list our services. So headlines, subheadlines, and then call to action. Notice that in this page, the phone number has a dark background to draw the eye. Same thing with the form. Stuff to keep in mind, right? And it's a simple layout to the page. Most impactful thing for SEO leads, add content strategically. Certainly with keywords, but also to be helpful to the user. So that kind of flows into, okay, look, if I'm going to add content, one of the things that we talked about here today is adding pages that itemize out some of your products or services. That might be a good place to start. If you can add keywords or words centered around your geographic area, bonus. Add a form to your website. If a lot of companies that we talk to don't have forms on their site, HubSpot with the $40 a month package will give you forms. Can't recommend it enough. There's another third-party program that I'd recommend called woofu.com. Make the phone number prevalent at the top. Anything at the top is the most important thing, right? So believe it or not, people do not scroll. The further something is down on the page, the less likely it is people will see it. Believe it or not. Wisdom from years and years of doing internet marketing. Fill out your Google My Business profile as much as possible. And this is, even if you're targeting national audience, as people find you, no matter where they're at, they're going to Google your business and they're going to try to see if people have reviewed you, whether they're local or not. Try to get some solid data to pivot off of, but make sure that you have enough data to make strategic decisions from as you plug and play. But test and measure. This is your mad evil science experiment, right? A lot of what you'll see on the SEO side comes after you make changes, and you really want to give it 7 to 10 days. You can actually, in Search Console, have Google index a page or submit a page to Google to be indexed sooner. Through that, another reason to get that up and running. But, as you make changes, in 7 to 10 days, look at analytics, look at Google My Business, the search engine rankings. Let's see how it performs. Evaluate your performance and then make more changes. Try not to make changes too often. That would essentially be redundant changes. And keep in mind, too, if you're not making changes to your content regularly, don't expect things to like go up and down crazy in analytics. I used to work client side, and I would report back to the powers that be on how the traffic came and went with the company's website. And we really never made any changes to the website. So if something happened, it would be like, wait, what? The traffic went up. What happened? Like, it would be offsite factors that would influence it. So it was just kind of funny. So you make sure you have some substance in terms of changes to be able to make, some strategic observations from. So, so hopefully this helps at least get you some starting points in terms of foundation for SEO. Stay tuned for additional subject matter on our YouTube channel, and I appreciate you watching. Thank you.